Today, we're going to check, yes, purchases. It's going to be interesting and easy. Actually, we had this webinar a few weeks ago, but let's just have a review of purchase because now we are adding more. Last time we just reviewed basics, right? So here I have got my screen. In the first place, where I want to purchase, of course, just to have a small review, we have to create our vendors, which is, well, basically the company that is going to provide the goods and services for us that we are going to purchase today. So let's see the vendor card. We have here my vendor Fabrica. Good. Even I have a beautiful picture here. And the idea of every vendor, of course, we are going to actually create the general information to have contact and the address where we are going to send them the information. As well, we have configurations for your vendors depending of where they are located locally or foreign vendors. That's super important because that could complicate things, right? So let's see why. Because we're going to be importing, we need to add expenditures, custom duties, etc. As part of the trick today that we are gonna the topics that we're gonna check. So the idea is that we need to pay to any vendor in a certain period of time. So that's a cycle that AP or your company and accounts payable team needs to actually be compliant with the actual dates for the payment. So this is the payment term code that allows me to configure when after I purchase I need to pay. Okay, so we have a full list of different payment terms. Look at them. Okay, and you can create as many as you need in your company. This is just the demo, and we offer with the payment terms the idea of the discount date calculation, which is 8 days. So let's take a look. If I actually want to purchase from this vendor with this payment term selected, I will have 1 month to pay. But if I pay in the first 8 days after my purchase, I'm going to get 2% discount. So we can configure then all these discounts for the for the early payment. Now we get the payment method code, very important. This is a suggested payment method where we can immediately settle a payment against, so we don't actually stay with an open account payable. Okay, for that we have that cash payment. When we need a payment to immediately settle our purchases, we are going to need the balancing account, which in our example is with petty cash. The others one don't have, look at this, for instance, on account or bank don't have, well, a balancing account. Why? Because when we purchase, let's say, and we want to select on account payment method, that will be an open invoice that we are going to pay later. And the same happened with the bank. I'm going to pay it later with a bank transfer. It's not that I'm going to pay it immediately. So the difference is that basically these other payment methods that do not have a GL account will create an open entry for accounts payable. That will be it. Hopefully that easy to remember, because here we have in every webinar sometimes a lot of information. So very good. These are the two most important for us in the world of accounts payable, and that we need to configure for our purchases. Okay. There are other fields that help us for accounts payable, like block payment tolerance, preferred bank account code, which is very important as well, right? But this will help us only informational unless you want to use your vendors to export. Remember this. I don't know if you would do it, but export as well your transfers to your bank with a file. So after you pay in Business Central, right, we can get actually electronic payments. So when you pay in Business Central, export the file, import it in your bank, and voila, you're going to replicate all your payments that you do. Something that is very useful when we talk about then as well purchases. So now, regarding inventory, we get special prices and discounts from our vendors, right? We call them vendor agreements, which actually state maybe for a fixed price for the following 3 months, 6 months, and so forth. The idea is that we are going to actually configure this in this window where we call the price list lines. Very good. So we're going to basically have in Business Central this first price list code. okay, where I can see, let me verify, all these different items that this vendor is providing, okay? So we get the purchase price list, which in terms of Business Central keywords or columns or vocabulary that we manage, this is basically the direct unit cost. So the cost of an actual purchase. Very good. So let's try it now. So this is actually then just the special prices. We can open then our price list. Remember, these are our agreements, okay? So it says that I want to assign prices for, let's say, a new vendor, Whiteboard Importers. Okay, very nice. So I can filter now my entries, and I want to assign then later one a price list for one of my vendors, let's say, right? And then, well, here I'm gonna get all this list of items. Remember, this is a price list number one, and well, it's already set it up. So why don't just maybe create another price list? Okay, if it's gonna, we're gonna need to start from scratch. Okay, so once again, the idea of the purchase price list or the price list by itself is that we can generate multiple price lists, like this one is P001. Okay, that would give me a price for this vendor for this item, let's say light bottle box, and the price if I purchase from this vendor will be 50. Okay, but then later, what happens if suddenly the unit price changes or the unit of measure? So, for instance, the water I purchase in boxes, then as well I will sell in bottles. And in the midst, I actually use pallets or cases then to stock my items. So that's as well something that we manage. Okay, so we are learning for the actual inventory management, and has to do a lot with the actual vendor agreements. Of course, please pay attention to the unit of measures. So those were some of the basics that we review. So we understand that the inventory management follows a multiple unit of measure configuration, where you can actually configure height, width, length, and so forth. Important to mention with the price list, well, everything affects the actual price, because, for instance, a box contains 24 bottles of water, if not the same that if I purchase a pallet that contains 26. That's why it is important to get the special price for 50 bucks, in this case dollars, or in my company, but the unit of measure, you need to purchase boxes. Okay, so well, part of what we review. So to understand then what was the idea, how, what we have configured for our scenarios, the idea is to use, yes, those vendor agreements. Okay, so just in case, and then in order to purchase, I'm going to then open my purchase quote. I wanted to show you one of the scenarios where a first in Business Central, every purchase team needs to start looking for vendors, right? That's your work. That's my work as a purchaser. So I will be then creating I will be looking at a purchase quote to then gather information first. I'm not even yet purchasing. Let's go to the real scenario, why we use purchase quotes. Okay, the idea is that I will just include, let's say, a one of the vendors in my quotation, because in this very moment, before starting creating the actual a real purchase, I want to get the prices and get notes and so forth, right? That's why we use the purchase quote. It's a draft document before being the real purchase, where I can actually make notes. So I like this one because I see Coke. Okay, and let's see what we're going to purchase. We have two ways of purchasing in Business Central. But first, to create the quote, well, the idea is that we have to insert a vendor, right? In this case, the Whiteboard Importers in our header, which is the main header of the document. Let's say, what do we have in the header? Okay, the general information of this vendor that is in Atlanta. The contact is called Toby Road. This is coming from the vendor card. okay? And the due date, if we purchase, let's say today, all right, when is going to be the due date, okay, to pay this purchase. So and as you can see, this is not like 3 or 4 months, these are just days to pay. And this is my order date. This is going to travel to all the system to know when I have purchased. So now let's start negotiating. With this very basic information, you're going to see other fields for later, like what is the vendor shipment when they do a delivery in the future, purchaser code, if you actually manage information for your team, who is the person who will be responsible to negotiate this here, purchaser code. Okay, very important. Now, we can even assign a user, which will be me, an administrator anyway, because just for me to see, I will be responsible or assign user to complete as well any information, right? So let me see. If I want to purchase, then I can get into my catalog of items that I have created. That's the idea. And then I'm going to get it here, right? Let's take a look at the numbers, okay? Because here, whenever I create an item, look at how the numbers are sequential. If we start with 1000, then 1001, 345, we can jump into the number series if we are not, or maybe an item was just deleted at some point, right? And then the number series could have been deleted. It's not going to be a problem. What I'm saying here is that you can control your numbers of your items because you as purchasers, right, will sometimes like to differentiate or at least myself, right, want to differentiate some items from others sometimes. So look at this. Some starts with 0 if they are ice creams. Good. But the other ones are, well, other type of number series. Good. But that's my internal catalog in my company. And that's coming from the field number, item number, the number of a general ledger account item, all right, or fixed asset. Why? Because when you purchase, the first thing we are going to purchase is items. But for other webinars or for other information, it's important to say that we can insert a simple GL account. Let's make a simple example. If we want to purchase, let's say, let's think of electricity and an expense of water, maybe. Yeah. Oh no. Well, any expenditure. Let me go to the accounts that I remember. Yeah, marketing expenses. Okay. If we want to purchase then an expense that which is completely possible, we can do so this way. Okay, just insert the quantity and how much you're going to pay. Okay, so in this way we are paying, yes, for a specific type of expenditure using a GL account directly. Why? Because we selected the type GL account. Remember that we haven't yet finished the negotiation, okay? So I want my marketing expenses, okay, to pay, but as well, in this case, I would like to also purchase, let's say, an item, and let's understand the idea. Now, for my items as well, I was saying that we get the numerical values that we have internally, but now I would like to check the catalog that this vendor is going to, well, let's say I have created the catalog of this vendor. These are the items that the vendor offers me, but look at the mess of these numbers, right? I did it on purpose. The idea is that these are vendor numbers, okay? Item vendor numbers. Interesting to see that because when you have a negotiation with the vendor, you are not going to use your internal numbers. You are going to use the vendor item number, all right? So the Coke 111, which is the vendor item number, is the same as the item 1064 when I created the item Business Central assigned to the Coke, the number 1064. And the Coke 111 number series is what we call the vendor item number. So I can identify both when I do my purchase. So I'm going to start my negotiation purchasing an expense. Or better, well, I would like to better only purchase items for now, but it's good to know that we can insert just GL accounts, okay? And that will work immediately. So you can insert expenses, but that doesn't give you that much information about what you normally do as purchaser, unless you only do with your finance departments only invoices for expenditures like that, all right? But the Coke is here. The Coke is here. Look at this. It's Coca-Cola 500 milliliters, by the way. I can take a look at the item even, because the idea of the negotiation is that you are going to check everything as much, well, many information is very important. For instance, how many you have on hand currently? 1,433. What is the base unit of measure? Cans. The unit price and the previous unit cost was 0.83. So I don't expect then with this, right, to get a $10 price per can or something, okay? So pay attention to your previous registers. Then we can just once again continue with our purchase quotation. And I will ask, hey, what's the price for this Coca-Cola? Okay, it's still 0.83. That was the last purchase direct cost. Of course, that's not going to be scenario. The thing is that all the time, your vendors are going to increase the cost. So in this case, from 0.8 now will be 0.999, almost one, okay, per can. And this is because normally, well, prices will be reflecting decimals most of the time with this type of structure, right? No problem. Now, let's go to the taxes. Independently of what you will be doing, this will be normally pre-configured. So you're not going to see what I'm going to do today. The thing is that with different tax group codes of different type of items, so I have supplies, but as well as I have labor for services, right, and materials, they might get different type of taxes. Okay, of course. So I'm showing you the field, but this is already pre-configured for your product. Some will be non-taxable, some will have a preferred tax rate, some of them will be having the normal tax rate for the type of item. And that is configured in Business Central. So your taxes needs to be calculated. So good. So currently this will be the total, the base, plus the taxes that I was mentioning, and then we have the total of this purchase. Important to mention as well that we might sometimes purchase in different currencies, okay? For instance, here I have US dollars, okay? So, okay, that's fine. In my case, when I want to change the currency, for instance, I'm going to now pay euros. I'm going to purchase with other currency. That's all the time very plausible and as well pre-configure for your vendor, right? Your vendor have specific currency according to the country where they are located. But of course, well, just changing for the demo, let's say that this vendor already have the currency euro. If you have currencies in your purchases, you're gonna have an option with these three dots bottom where you need to verify your exchange rate. And the pair I'm talking about is euro against a US dollar. Okay, that will be basically the exchange rate definition that we just see here. The value of one dollar, excuse me, against the euro. Okay, euro. So that will be the pair we are talking about. That will be important to mention that at some point we can configure if your people in the purchase department can change this or no. For me, in this configuration, I was allowed to do so, okay, to change the exchange rate. But you would normally won't allow people to actually change that. That will be for the accountant. I'm just showing you that we have actually multi-currency, okay? And it's very important for the purchases. And if it's blank, let's take a look at the currency code field always in your purchases, and then you're going to then be all right. If it's local currency, the value should be blank. Okay, so very easy to understand these traditional fields used in the purchasing side, right? The thing sometimes is that, well, at some point, well, I'm going to be speaking with this vendor. This will be the final price, and I will be finalizing my negotiation and stuff, right? So we have just reached this point where we already know what to purchase, what will be the final cost. Let me change my warehouse. Oh, I forgot to mention this field, by the way. So we have multiple warehouses in your companies, in my company. So we need to select in which warehouse. Let's receive in the main warehouse. Then we are going to receive these items. Okay, so that's the negotiation. So with this in mind, okay, let's say this is all the things that I can purchase. I will send it to the vendor, let's say. If not, let's just request an approval. if that's enabled. So before you contact the actual vendor, somebody can review my information to maybe review a budget or review your notes if something is missing, right? An item that I really need to purchase. Plus, for my supervisor, this is urgent. Okay, I will add a note, super important for me, especially when you have workflows. Okay, somebody's going to review your data, somebody could review that all the vendor information and especially the cost. Okay, of your item here of the Coca-Colas is okay. If that's not enough, we could attach maybe the actual quotation file that your vendor can provide to you and we can attach it to your actual purchaser. So I am going to attach a PDF or basically only that. Okay, the file going to be then just uploaded to your document as PDF. Look at what we have imported. So everybody, if they click in the link, they're going to be able to open this file. Okay, now let's click on flow to purchase. Okay, if you want this file to purchase into all the transactions, I normally don't want this. These files might be quite big. I only want it only if you open my original purchase quotation. Okay, so basically that will be the in the end the idea of the quotation. Okay, plus if you want, you can print the document if you have the vendor in front of you. Let's say that we are doing the negotiation on in your offices, in my offices, right? It depends. Or if they are not there, you just send it with an email. Okay, that basically the same PDF document I was referring to. The only thing that then I would need to add this is that this is going to create an automated email for you. And here you're going to get this. Well, this is a very boring design. This is not very fancy or anything. It's just like even old school, right? Wild World importers. I'm going to buy my Coca-Colas, right? But yes, that's what they're going to receive. But remember, you can change your information. Of course, do reports. We can help you to customize with your branding, with your layouts, with your colors and so forth. And then Business Central can be automated. I don't see an automation here for this email. Okay, let me just try it in a moment. I'm going to configure, but immediately we can configure for you an immediate body email. But this is good at least to show that here we have integration with Outlook. Okay, click on send email to Wild World Importers Contoso. Hello, I will need this ASAP. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's say that, of course, you're not gonna write like this, but this will be hello, good morning, from a company name. I want to notify that I need this purchase. Sincerely, Noé, or sincerely, the name of the company. So give us that and information. And here is my PDF document that I show you. So the email will be ready. So you don't have to go to Outlook. You don't have to do anything. Okay, use Word template. And here I have my template that I have created. Well, this is not inserted manually like I'm doing. It's just something that me as an administrator, I do so. But well, anyway, I'm talking about this. This could be already pre-configured. Okay, text that we can pre-configure for you, like this one. That's why I'm just clicking. Otherwise, I would never use it because the mail will of being already done. Okay, the idea is just to notify. This is what what we negotiated. Take a look at the information. Tell me, and even well, when do you request your item? Important to mention. Okay, remember that this is what just a quotation. So fine. Let me just go with the function just to continue with the real purchase. So the difference is that here we have a purchase quote. Now I'm going to make a real order. Okay, what happened here? In Business Central, we have a list of purchase quotes. Okay, and I can continue creating another one for other vendors. But the idea of my quotation is that, and this will be for Fabricant. Good, just that. Later, I'm going to continue with the completion of that. But purchase quotes is a space where will be for the actual a person who we will be actually purchasing. Okay, so in this case, and then let's see what these other vendors offer me. Oh, they as well have a Coke, but palette. Okay, good. So they might sell me the same items, but with a preferred price. All right. So that's exactly the idea, right? You are checking with two different vendors, maybe the same item, and well, it'll take a look at the units of measure, the cost, etc. But that's the idea. Good. Only that. The thing is that, okay, I have two quotes. Independently of what information is inside, analyze them and decide which one will be then created to be sent to the vendor as real purchase orders, because these are my internal notes. This is other way to see what is a purchase quote. Internal notes that could be remaining there forever, that nobody's going to see, that will be for me, for my own personal organization of the purchasing team, on the purchasing activities that we do. After I'm super sure about this, I could even archive it, but I'm going to make an order. These two functions actually are very important. Archive document is that you will follow specific same document, but you might get different versions. So I want the version number 1, version number 2, version number 3. Got it? And then we have the make order. Make order is going to take this information from the draft and make it real. Let's just do it. It's just going to ask me, do you want to convert this quote to an order? And I'm going to click on yes. The thing is that this has created a new purchase order with this number. Okay, remember that, well, your POs might get different numbers here than mine, of course, but, well, the idea that in Business Central, we're gonna use that quotation, leave it there until we are sure that we are going to really purchase. We want to receive these items, and then later, of course, we have to pay. So this is basically the idea. I'm going to purchase, importing maybe, from Fabricam, and I'm going to purchase my Coca-Cola pallets. Okay, here is the unit of measure, and I need to pay this amount with taxes. Okay, now you ask me why those taxes, Noe? Even if learning about purchases, you can check your information in detail in the statistic window. Let's just take a look. Statistics for this purchase, okay? Very important. So I have an amount of the cost, but I always sometimes need to review this taxes amount that will increase my payment, okay? But the cost of the item will still be this amount, okay? The cost of these items. So taxes are not cost. We need to pay at some point, remember, to your local authorities. So we are, so to speak, reserving some of that actual, according to the rate of your local authorities, that in the end we need to settle, okay? So my taxes in detail are delivered in my version of Business Central because I'm in Atlanta, what is this? Georgia, okay? And in a county that is called Fulton. So Fulton. So for me, the taxes are related to the county, the town, the city, and the state, basically, okay? So that's what I'm saying here. But if you have other calculations other than mine, right, of course, they will be here just for you to learn, okay? Here, the line amount, plus the taxes, okay? Tax base amount plus the 2% will be generating this tax amount. And therefore, you're going to get the total of your purchases, okay? So that's how we analyze every time when we do a purchase. You need to check cost, you need to check the quantities, the unit of measure, and the last but not least, the currency, last but not least, your taxes. Everything that I have just mentioned actually is so important that is going to then be resulting in a good purchase or in a bad purchase. A red or something, maybe your approver is going to reject you, right? If something is missing, if you don't complete the information properly, or your total do not match with what your vendor invoice says, okay? So everything you then must look at all those fields that I have shown you. So fine. No more than that. I don't want to confuse you with all these fields. Just it's actually quite logical, right? So I'm a purchaser, I need to review all of these. I might have an approval workflow. Somebody is going to review this. Fine. So important to mention, this came, if necessary, at some point you want to check, this came from a quotation. The quotation was the 1015 and was exactly the ones that we did already. Very good. So Nothing but that. In this very moment, I would like to do then, let's say, a more advanced processes. Okay, so as you saw with this, you can somehow start purchasing. You'll get the idea. You of course need to practice. Don't worry about it. We help you with that. Or check the webinar how I create all these documents with all the references. Now, it happens that I sometimes need to pay to a vendor. Maybe I want to purchase from the vendor other type of services for the logistic part. Okay, so my idea here is that I will be paying first to this vendor for the charges. Okay, so freight charges, maybe this is a local purchase only, and then I will need to pay, let's say, I don't know, $10 or $20 for the shipping, okay, of this. It depends, but in this case, I will just add $30, okay? This is not part yet of the item cost. But let's say, and let's think, okay, when I purchase something, this you're gonna need to actually negotiate the direct unit cost with the vendor, okay? With or without taxes, it depends. But here you have the line amount including tax or the direct unit cost, which doesn't include tax. It's up to you which one is more important for you. Normally, well, we would actually sometimes verify with taxes as well, of course. But then I need to pay for these price services that this vendor is going to offer, but they charge, okay, $30. I don't know how many miles or anything, right? But it's just, let's say, the example to then run the function to apply, because immediately I want to make this $30 to be applied to this item code to increase the actual cost. How do we do so? Because that's what's going to happen. When I sell this item or these pallets, okay, these Coca-Colas in the end, okay, the unit cost is going to change, of course, because now I'm also paying freight services. And these are called the charges, okay? The idea of their charges is mainly for custom duties. But not only for those, okay? They could be for purchase allowance, imported goods and expenses, miscellaneous, insert as many lines as you need because, well, you need to pay if it's going to be delivered to your warehouse, to your port. You need to pay if you are insurance, okay? Everything. So here we have a list of all the, remember, item charges. What the item charges does, when I input that, increase the actual cost as if the item was more expensive. It's an accounting as well procedure as well. But from our point of view as purchasers, well, let's just create a list. Even I could create a new one if I click on new entry to then define a new code for a new, once again, item charges. So remember that they actually they are going to increase once again, and the purpose is that they are going to increase the cost of the item. So let's just then apply it. In order to do so, I will need to go to line, and here I have the item chart assignment function. Let's just verify. With this function, this is going to basically tell me, hey, I have some Coca-Colas that you're purchasing, okay? We have 500 to receive, okay? So if you want to apply $30, okay, most commonly, we are going to split this $30 into my quantity, into my 500 bottles of Coca-Cola that I will be receiving. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to click on Suggest Item Charge, and it has assigned to the Coca-Colas one expenditure or cost, additional cost of 30. Okay, that's the idea. I'm assigning this 30. Basically, that will be the only thing that I'm actually just doing. If necessary as well, you could get other receipt lines. Let's say that with the same shipping of $30, they are going to ship other items from other purchases just with this same truck. Okay, that would be very handy sometimes. Let's just do so. I can check and, well, verify the receipt lines. Sorry, and this will be right in addition to the what I'm purchasing, previous purchases, okay? Previous purchases that I did, but I will then verify additional information, right? To see if I can include them in the same shipping or no. But for now, I mean, to adjust the cost, which in the end, this is what I'm doing for these freight services, okay? So that's fine. Nothing else to say in this moment. I don't want to go over adding more items because I just wanted to add it to the Coca-Cola for accounting procedures that we have. The get receipt lines were for items that we already received. I don't want to increase the cost for those items yet. Okay, so let's just do it first in the same purchase order. I have the freight services. The idea of this is that, and I don't want to confuse you, I can apply it immediately while I do the purchase, and that will be it. But sometimes, and especially if we are importing in the next scenario that I'm going to show, we need to purchase first, let's say from China, and then we are going to have let's say a shipment from the vendor from China, but 1 week later, where you need to pay for the insurance when you receive from other vendors, maybe logistics, insurance, maybe your port authorities are going to give you other invoices that at the same time are going to increase the cost. So that will be the second scenario for those type of invoices. This charge will be automatically because, well, I'm going to pay to Fabricam. In other words, because Fabricam is going to provide the freight charge services. That's why I'm including everything in the same purchases, right? For you in this example to know more or less the idea of or the structure of the things you should input in this very moment. Okay, these are services that this vendor is going to offer to me directly. Okay, just to get the items on site. So let's just go to the next step. At some point, oh, look at this. This must be approved. So somebody's going to review my attachments, my notes, my cost, everything. And I just need to click on this button, request approval. If you receive this message, then you just need to click on send approval request. And while this is sent, of course, this is going to go for one person. You get a window for that where you're going to get the approver ID or the status. But since I'm the administrator, I'm not going to actually have this. This was automatically approved by myself. So there's no point at this point just to we have a session for actual approval workflows just to see what you can do with those. So in the normal process, you're going to see a person who will be your approver. And then once they approve, they're going to see your status and you're going to see as release. What the release status means for us in Business Central. The thing is that at some point, well, the warehouse as well needs to receive the item, correct? And when that will happen, of course, after I have sent this information, what I want to purchase to the vendor with the email I show you. And then at the same time, after I get my approval workflow internally, right, for my supervisor or maybe by amounts, let's say that you want to purchase a car, well, that approval workflow would go maybe to a higher position in the company, of course. And that is something that we do normally with approval workflows. Good. So the thing now with the process, okay, if you need and if you know what you're doing, you can actually preview the information if needed to check which GL accounts will be actually posted or used to post this transaction. And let me show you. This is not specific for purchasers, but well, it's good to know some of the ideas behind the accounting. Every time we purchase, unless we pay on cash, as already told you that we can settle, this is creating for me an accounts payable that I need to pay later, okay? And well, I have some different, I won't show you what is different yet. That's quite more advanced. Okay, but you have your accounts payable, then plus you have your taxes. Okay, remember that we have different tax rates that I explained. You're gonna get one account to actually post the actual taxes. This should be purchased. Sorry for this configuration, but it should be purchased tax payable. Okay, but the idea is that we are actually going into the actual preview to verify that all your GL accounts are actually correct. We might have a cost instead of a deferred revenue. This should be cost against your inventory. Okay, if you this is Inventory is the value of the items, okay? Then that's why you sometimes are going to check here, instead of this deferred revenue account, an actual inventory account, okay? Normally, that's what you're going to see. AP, inventory, your taxes. With this in mind, then we have already completed the first negotiation, quotation. We have added some charges because the fabricant is going to actually ship the items to my warehouses. So at some point, everything is done, everything is approved. Then I can just close Business Central and voila, we just need for the vendor to actually arrive with the items in the warehouse. So that's what I'm going to do now. In order to do so in our processes in Business Central, we need to make the warehouse clerk receive the items, and he's going to count them and solve for it and do a lot of warehousing processes. Okay, so I'm going to receive now this purchase order. Oh, this is asking me for a warehouse process. Let me just do so. And it's good because, well, maybe you get an idea, okay? You as a purchaser, you all will stop now working. Now it's the time for the warehouse clerk to work. For that, then he will be counting. Maybe he has a handheld. I don't know. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to verify exactly more, well, ideally what this is going to be like. Okay, so I'm receiving, counting the items, unloading the truck, and counting, check the quality. And here I have some tests where I need to inform what is the past description. Okay, the package height should be among 50 to 30 to receive the item. Okay, and that's internal testing that I do. Here you can create your own test for your items if necessary. Okay, but I'm just going to move forward because this is not going to be inventory management processes. But anyway, it's good to know that, well, whatever they do, they need to, oh, sorry, do all the work that it's included to receive the items. We can do the quality checks additionally. All right, and this is undamaged. And in this very moment, just to mention it, this is just clarifying if I can just receive or not the item. Look at this. This has passed all my exams, okay, all my tests. Nothing else to say, just to show you more or less what the warehouse clerk would do and things like this. So we count, I open a handheld, I receive, check the quality, do my test, inform Business Central, finish, and then the test will be ready. This is just informative and optional. You don't have to do this, okay? This is just, once again, because of my process that I have here. But the idea is to receive these items. This is the first thing that needs to happen. After you order from your vendor, let me see. I think that I did a wrong quality expansion for a line that shouldn't be having it. Sorry, I need to do this once again because I picked a wrong line. That's my mistake. Sorry for that. Okay, nothing else to say. I will just complete the same for this and we continue. Okay. Sorry for that. So let's just finish this. There you go. And the reception, good. Okay, at some point, your warehouse clerk is going to receive the items, right? Like I have just done. But you as a purchaser, you have the opportunity to verify if it has already received. Okay, so here we have the quantity received, which is currently 10. Okay, fine. That's good because I have this information. I know where this a warehouse clerk already completed now the actual functions of receiving the item, whatever he has to do. But guess what? I need to verify in a list. Me as a purchaser, I will know what is the amount received, not invoice. Okay, so here I have all the purchase orders. This is my back order. I'm following up all these vendors to give me the items that I've already ordered. So here, if the status of this purchase order is open, means that the purchaser is still configuring it, okay? But in our case, like the last purchase order we did is here for Fabricam is already released, fine. But as well, I can see, hey, you have received these items, but you haven't yet invoiced them, okay? Oh, so in one window, I could actually filter to this value or filter by other values. It's up to you what you want to use. And I want to just filter all any purchase order that I have received but yet not invoiced. Please show me that information, okay? We call this feature the filtering, okay? Because I'm receiving my amount, not received, but this should be larger, sorry for this, than maybe $1, okay? If you have maybe this, then of course you're gonna get now more purchase orders which has have status release, but for any given reason, my purchaser haven't yet invoiced, right? Look at how much we need to pay because I haven't yet invoiced this PO. So this is how we analyze the back order, okay? And if needed, okay, you could even filter and create your own report, like not invoice. Oh, sorry for this. Very nice. So that's very handy now for me, this type of tools, because now I have different views. The purchases that came from vendor 1000, Fabricam. Now I have plenty of purchases. Some of them, let's take a look, are still pending approval, okay? This is then how you as purchaser should analyze the information. Some of them will be pending prepayment. So just for you to know, as purchaser, you have the option to create prepayments. And what is that? Well, before the vendor sends me the item, sometimes I need to pay in advance, maybe a percentage, 10% of the purchase. So pay it first. That's why this is paying prepayment status, because you need to pay first and then you're going to be able to receive the items. Pending approval, I would like now to speak with the approver. What's going on? Why haven't you approved? Because you need, the idea is that you clean all this information. Oh, this was rejected. Sorry, it's in Spanish. It was rejected by me at some point, well, a few months ago. This is my demo environment, but this was rejected. So somebody needs to review and complete it, and then we can just approve it. But the idea is that you as purchaser come into Business Central, review your back order. What is the status? Because you might need always to complete this. This is our best practice always in Business Central, right? Almost finishing, guys. But always verify that information before anything happens. And then with that, well, I'm just going to go to my last document that I created, and I will show you what you can do inside your own analysis when you check your back order. Okay, I know that I have received this item, but I have this purchase, but I have not yet invoiced. So it's not gonna have invoices yet, but it's gonna have receipts for now. So in this example, I have only one reception. So from the purchase order, we can navigate to the posted purchase receipts. So I will only see that document. What the warehouse clerk normally sees is this document, the purchase receipt, and the difference is among a purchase is that, well, we want to separate the duties. We don't want taxes. The warehouse clerk doesn't see discounts, special prices, agreements. They don't see taxes, anything that I have explained you today. The only thing that is important for the warehouse clerk when they do receive, and this is what they see in the reception, where in the main, the quantity and well, of course, the item information, which is more simpler to understand, easier to understand. And here I have, well, the actual expected dates, nothing else. So this is then related, and this is why my Business Central purchase order was updated with the information coming from that came from that reception. So the quantity received is already 10. Fine. So you need to invoice now 10 units. How do we do so? Well, Business Central help us with that. I'm just going to click on pause and do the last action for this purchase order, which is the invoice. So this is now the rule, okay, for you to remember it. First, we are just going to pay only for what the warehouse clerk has already received, in good quality with their test or whatever you do inside, right? It's up to you to your processes, but they need to complete the reception. And after that, that is going to increase the physical quantity of the items, nothing else. Then I'm going to be able to invoice my order because now I'm going to pay. So you understand the logic. Review the items, review the quality, review the quantities, and then after you do that, then you're going to be able to generate an invoice only for the quantity you have received. And this is now the posted purchase invoice. Good. So now AP is going to pay for this. We have prepared, they can see that I have purchased Coca-Colas and they can see the freight charges. Okay, they in the invoice, we just see the values. This is the important thing for the invoice that I need to pay in the end $512.70. Okay, so that's it. In US, by the way, very important for AP. Don't forget that the currency is the most, maybe unit measure and currencies are the most common mistakes that I normally see in our implementations, right? When something is not okay, but the total in the end should match with the real payment and the real purchase. Otherwise, we would need, and this is a bonus, to then cancel this posted purchase invoice, correct your cost, and then you might be able to invoice again. It depends, okay? I mean, correct this one. Okay, or cancel as well if you need to create another invoice for that will be copying this actual posted purchase invoice. Okay, with one button, we can just cancel the invoice and post it again in another moment. So basically, those are the basic tools for basic purchasing that you will be using. And then remember to take care of your back order. Never let it grow like myself in my demo. Thing is that, well, I have presented for different processes, replenishing or other stuff, maybe all of them. But it's good to have all these documents because you need to review the status. You need to review if you have invoiced your orders or not. And you need to check who's the assigned user. Remember the assigned user information that I created, okay? Please add it because with this, you are going to see if you have a team of purchasers who is going to be completing the actual purchase order. Assigned user might not be always who purchased. The assigned user ID is going to be in this list for you to include who is going to following up. Could be the same purchaser or could be an approval workflow administrator as well that will be just following up this as a assignation of completing the back order. So we have to who's purchasing and who will be helping me with the assigned with this field assigned user ID where I have Carlsbad. Okay, and remember, save your views when you use your filters. You might look for a vendor, you might look, let me show other filters. I normally use document date, status. I as well might use the vendor number. And sometimes even the area or the city, because we have city, we have the country and so forth, okay? And well, if it was I don't find it. The due date. Here is okay. Important. So sometimes you have questions. You might receive questions about vendors. Why haven't you paid this or that? This is coming from the due date that you need to filter to review some purchases to find them easily, right? Because the due date, every purchase for a payment has a due date, and that really impacts you as a purchaser. You need to have this because to get the special prices, well, with your vendors, pay on time and stuff like that. We already know. So that's coming then as well into the purchases. That will be important to filter as well sometimes and continue well savings your views according to what you need, overdue invoices, not invoiced but yet received from a vendor, from abroad or locally, and so forth, right? Just to mention that some of the main basic features to control your process when you do purchases. So that will be all for today. Thank you very much for your time. Now I'm going to leave you with the team to finalize some other procedures with the Paul. Thank you very much for your time and see you then next week.